Isiah Pacheco has missed practice for the second day in a row, putting his availability for Sunday's game against the Bills in severe question. That's the topic of today's show here on the Chiefs Report. Happy you chose to take some time out of your day to join us. I'm your host, Jay Sanders, and I'm telling you what, you're watching now so you know what's coming up. You know the injury to Isiah Pacheco, but if you want to know even before this video, even right after it comes out, in fact, literally minutes after the news, well, follow me on Twitter because I'm keeping up with the Chiefs there every single day with injury updates, news, rumors, pretty much everything you see on here. Well, I'm doing something similar on Twitter. You get it a little quicker before we put out our videos here on the Chiefs Report. So do me a favor and go follow me at @JaceAndrews_ Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. And I'll tell you what, I'll make a special deal. The first 10 people that follow me after this video, well, guess what? You're getting a follow back, and I really appreciate it. So again, hit me up on Twitter or X at @JaceAndrews_ to know exactly what's happening the instant it happens. Speaking of that, let's dive into what exactly happened today. So we mentioned yesterday 4 players not practicing in Wednesday's practice. Well, tonight, now Thursday, guess what? Those same 4 players, well, they're also missing practice again. Brian Cook with that ankle sprain they're labeling it as. Don't know how it was an ankle sprain. You've seen the photo. That's pretty crazy. That's just a sprain. Isiah Pacheco, the big one we're going to talk about here. His shoulder is injured. Donovan Smith, his neck, as finally they labeled it. It was always labeled as a stinger. Now they're saying it's a neck injury, and then Drew Tranquill still in concussion protocol. He will not practice as well on Thursday. Let's start with Isiah Pacheco, though, and kind of basically go through how exactly this kind of rubs out for Saturday. So given he's missed practice for now 2 days in a row, it really hurts his chances to play on Sunday. I mean, even if you get a full-fledged practice tomorrow at Friday, which is very, very unlikely, I would say limited is the best he could do tomorrow, then it's going to be a tough ask for him to just go out there on Sunday playing against a pretty solid Bills defense. And it's going to hurt because his numbers this year have been, well, RB1 material, to say the least. He has just under 800 yards, 6 touchdowns, including 3 touchdowns in the past 2 games. The average sitting just over 4. I always like to say with that average in runs, if you're around the 4 area, you're doing great. 4.2, you're a solid RB1. You're going above that, man, you're probably one of the top 10 in the league. I think that's exactly what Isiah Pacheco is. 176 carries too, so he's been versatile all year long. And I think the unfortunate part about Isiah Pacheco is that, well, he's not the only injury to this running back room. So obviously Pacheco not practicing today, but it could make it really thin given that McKinnon has actually missed the last 2 games. Now, McKinnon is not technically a non-participant at practice, but he is a limited participant. That's what he was yesterday, and I'm assuming that's what he will be today, although we haven't gotten an official report yet. From the videos, though, it doesn't seem like he's in full pads and ready to go just yet. Missing the last 2 games, obviously, that would make sense. So you start with that. You're missing Isiah Pacheco in theory. If Jerick McKinnon isn't able to go, well, then who in the world do you have left? That's exactly what we're going to talk about here and kind of go through the options for Andy Reid and how exactly he can manage this running back room without Pacheco or McKinnon, should it be that way. Let's first look at the depth chart, and obviously there we go. Pacheco, McKinnon, both hurt right now. CEH is your only healthy back that is technically on your active roster. I don't know about you, but when you have one running back on your active roster left and it's your RB3, it's not exactly a good thing. It hurts because you're going to be without your 2 guys if they cannot go. Now, again, this is still Thursday. There is time for them to both heal up and play. Kadarius Toney, in fact, he didn't practice a lick before the first game of the season and then just showed up and played. Now, I will say, we don't want to talk about the performance in the first game because maybe he should have not have played. That would have helped out. But either way, there is a chance for Pacheco to even not practice at all this whole week and still be able to play upcoming here on the Sunday. McKinnon, though, being a limited participant, it seems as though we hopefully will have him back, but we thought the same thing last week, and he didn't play, so we don't exactly know just yet. Now, I do have to ask here because, listen, at this point, there's a very good shot that we could be without Pacheco and McKinnon. We don't know with him yet. So this Sunday, you're facing a Bills defense that is pretty solid overall, especially on the defensive line. So if the Chiefs are without Isiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon, I want to know your confidence in a Chiefs win against the Buffalo Bills, even it being in Arrowhead. I want you to give me a number scale of 1 to 10, 1 being least confident, 10 being most confident. You're at without RB1, you're without RB2 in this scenario. What would your confidence be? Let's go look at CEH because if Pacheco's not there, McKinnon's not there, we got to go to the next man up. And that would be Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who through the past 3 seasons has been, Well, a bust, to be quite honest with you. First-round pick out of LSU. He was a part of that amazing team with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and you thought, well, you got a guy out of that team. You're going to be really solid, right? But CEH just has never lived up to expectations. 2021, his sophomore season in the NFL, he had over 500 yards and 4 touchdowns, but from there, the decline has just kind of gone out. Last year, he got his starting role taken by Mr. Isiah Pacheco, and then this season, he actually was the starter week 1, but that was the only game he was a starter, as since then, it's been Isiah Pacheco, which is exactly my next point of he could see his first start here since that week 1 performance where he was labeled as the Chiefs RB1, that number 1 starter. And again, it's a potential that we could see him play this weekend, and not only play, but be the official starter, be the guy that is the quote-unquote cowbell back. He's going to go out there and just absolutely run through everybody. I don't know exactly if that's what Andy Reid would do if he is the only running back available, if they're going to bring someone up from the practice squad, or what exactly is going to happen, which we're going to dive into that in just a moment. But I will say, if CEH is the only running back available, make sure you go check your prize picks and put in your entries, because I'm telling you, prize picks are super fun to play. And if you know the game, if you're watching the Chiefs report right now, well, guess what? You're going to have the inside track to making sure you get your entries right. Prize Picks is a skill-based, real money daily fantasy sports game. And the cool thing is that now that basketball season is here, you can also put combo projections in across the NBA and NFL. So, for instance, say like the more on Travis Kelce touchdowns and say the more on Jason Tatum points, you could put those together for one entry. Now, make sure you go check it out at prizepicks.com/CLNS. And if you use our code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. Pretty good deal right there. We got Thursday Night Football tonight, and here are my 3 entries. I'm going the more on Ezekiel Elliott rushing attempts. The reason for that, he had 17 last week when he wasn't the starter, given Ramondre Stevenson was in. Now Ramondre Stevenson, he's injured, not going to play tonight. I'm saying Ezekiel's going to get more on the rushing attempts, especially with Bailey Zappi as quarterback. Yeah, no way. Jalen Warren, I think it's going to be more of a rushing game. Also, the Steelers, without their starting quarterback, it's going to be Mitchell Trubisky. I think Warren gets more than 50 yards. And then Chad Ryland, he has actually hit that kicking points 5 times in the last 5 games. So I'm going the more there, putting the hot hand saying he's hit that every single time the past 5 games. I'm going with it again. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types. Well, that's what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. So again, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. I'm telling you, it's free money. Go do it. Shout out Prize Picks. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. I mentioned the practice squad running backs. I mentioned what we can do here with basically everybody that's left in this running back group. Let's kind of talk about those 3 practice squad running backs. You have Deneric Prince, Lamichael Perine, and the newly signed Keaontay Ingram. So through these 3 guys, you have options to pull up from the practice squad. Now, you see Keaontay Ingram there like, whoa, Jace, who is that guy? We didn't talk about him in preseason. Well, in case you missed it, the Chiefs actually signed him this past week to their practice squad. Kind of a little quieter move, just middle of the week type thing before the upcoming game against the Packers. And, well, now he has a chance to maybe jump onto this squad. Now, he doesn't have too much experience in the NFL. In fact, he's only played in just 12 games, all of which being with the Arizona Cardinals. In that time, he's had 62 carries for 134 yards, scoring just 1 touchdown and averaging 2.2 yards per carry. Now, obviously, with Arizona, he had James Conner there last year, had a couple other running backs to deal with, and along with Kyler Murray, who's a running quarterback. So there's a lot to kind of dive into of how he could be used better there. But he may actually get a roster spot for Sunday's game, depending on how everything plays out, because if you're going to miss McKinnon and Pacheco, you're probably going to have to bring up 2 backs from that practice squad, and maybe it could be Keaontay Ingram. Now, I want to go to the other 2 choices just because we've seen them more recently in a Chiefs uniform. Both these guys, Deneric Prince and Lamichael Perine, were cut from the original 53-man roster, but immediately signed to the Chiefs practice squad. Their preseason stats go as followed. The carries a little more in favor of Prince. The yards a little more in favor of Perine. 1 touchdown for Deneric. The average severely favoring Lamichael Perine. Honestly, I was kind of surprised he did not make the active roster over CEH for a little bit. Obviously, the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes have somewhat of a tie with CEH is what it kind of seems like. I would honestly like to see Lamichael Perine get some actual reps. He was pulled up for the Germany game, but did not see the field. That one being obviously when CEH was ill. And then last week, that was when Deneric Prince got pulled up with Jerick McKinnon out. So now, like I said, you have Prince, you have Perine. They've both been active this season at least once. So do you pick both those guys to pull up if you're without your top two guys? Do you pick one of them and add Keaontay Ingram in there? There's a lot of decisions that Andy Reid and Brett Veach can make here to decide how exactly to go about this injury bug that has struck the running back room here in Kansas City. But what exactly is the choice? So let's kind of go through the options here. Here's your four guys that you can look at in the running back room should Pacheco and McKinnon be out. You have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, LaMichael Perine, Deneric Prince, and Keaontay Ingram. Three of those on practice squad, one of them in your active roster. And again, with McKinnon being limited in practice and Pacheco missing it for the second day in a row, there's a good chance we may not see either of them on Sunday, or at best, we may see one of them. That could be Jerick McKinnon, given he has at least practiced somewhat in this week. Now, we'll have to see what happens tomorrow. Now, I'm telling you what, if you want Pacheco and McKinnon to be healthy this Sunday, and you don't want to be talking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Keaontay Ingram or Deneric Prince, LaMichael Perine, you don't want to see any of those. You want to see your guy, Isiah Pacheco, on the field. Then do me a favor, hit that like button to kind of give that little bit of love. Just give a little bit of nice little subtle, we like you. We're up for you. So hit that like button. And I'm telling you right now, it's the easiest way to support both Pacheco, McKinnon, and really just the entirety of this Chiefs squad. Okay, Isiah Pacheco, you see here, he is kind of missing a little bit of a portion of the whole story here. Obviously, Pacheco not practicing these past 2 days due to injury. But this may be a preview for what's to come. Pacheco does have a chance to actually be suspended for a couple games, or at least one game, after he threw a punch this last weekend. Now, again, I said this a couple shows ago when it was asked, is he going to be suspended? Is he not? Well, technically there is a chance, but there has been no talk of a fine. There has been no talk of a suspension. I haven't really heard anything from the NFL or Brett Veach, Andy Reid, about any kind of downbringing on Isiah Pacheco after he threw that punch against the Green Bay Packers. Let's go into our last little bit here of the show, talking about Mahomes and his confidence in the Kansas City Chiefs. So I know you kind of saw in the title that Mahomes is pretty confident in Kansas City, even with their 8-4 record. I kind of want to dive into it and see that this guy is a full-born leader. He actually said this today in his press conference. I've been on a team that was 6-4. I think we won the Super Bowl. We have confidence every week that we're going to find a way to win the football game, obviously. These last few weeks, we've lost a couple. But we saw that mindset, and we understand the challenge that's in front of us. But at the same time, all you can do is go to work every single day and get better, and then go give whatever you can on the football field. You got to love the confidence here from QB1. The fact that he just said, hey, we were 6-4, and we won the Super Bowl that year. So we're going to be fine. We're 8-4 right now. Yeah, we've lost a couple in the past couple games, but overall, we're feeling good. We're feeling good. You just got to go out there and practice every day, do your work, and feel confident whenever you step foot on that football field. It seems as though that, well, our QB1 has that in his mindset and really is kind of transmitting that to the guys around him, even with the wide receiver group. We've seen the problems, we've seen the struggles with them, and yet he continues to say, I have confidence in them. I know they will be ready come important games. Well, guess what? We're getting the stretch of the season and the games are becoming more important. But I'm going to tell you what. He did kind of allude me to something. There are people that have kind of jumped off the ship saying, the Chiefs aren't even a playoff team this year. The Chiefs, they're not going to the Super Bowl. Well, I'll tell you what. When you see that confidence from your quarterback, it makes you want to believe. So I tell you what, if you want to join this Chiefs kingdom, you want to be a part of this Chiefs upbringing, and people are going to doubt the Chiefs. People are going to say, well, they're not going to be good enough to make the playoffs. They're going to be good enough to win the Super Bowl. Well, you hit subscribe today. You're locking yourself in so that 2 months, 3 months from now, when the Chiefs are holding up that Lombardi trophy, guess what? You're going to say, I believed in them since they were 8-4, just like Patrick Mahomes did. And if you do, spam KC in the comments below. We really appreciate it. Hit subscribe, and I really appreciate you joining us here on the Chiefs Report. As always, Chiefs Kingdom, peace out.